What's up, everybody? Are you overwhelmed by the never-ending supply of depressing bad news? Well, let's refuel our tanks with 7 recent positive stories. This is Giddy News for the week of September 15th, 2018. The shampoo bottle saving babies from pneumonia is the Giddy News headline, courtesy of Amir Rafiq Pirzada and Pauline Mason of the BBC, and a link to the source will be included in the description below. So in 1996, Dr. Mohammed Jabayer Christie was working in a pediatric department at the medical hospital in Bangladesh. It was his first night as an intern, and he said that 3 children died before his eyes. And that evening, over 20 years ago, he made a promise that he would do something to stop children from dying from pneumonia. Almost 1 million babies and small children die from pneumonia every single year, mostly in South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa, because in developed countries, hospitals use ventilators to help children with pneumonia breathe, but each machine costs like $15,000. And so Dr. Chisti and a colleague took a discarded plastic shampoo bottle from the intensive care unit, filled it with water, and inserted one end of some plastic supply tubing. The children inhale oxygen from a tank and exhale through a tube which is inserted into a bottle of water, producing bubbles in the water. The pressure from the bubbles keeps the small air sacs of the lungs open. And these devices only cost $1.25 each, and they have appeared to cut mortality rates by 75%. Emotional classic car auction stuns family of young Red Deer couple killed in a motorcycle crash is the headline of this Giddy News, courtesy of Emily Mertz, and a link to the source will be in the description below. So Brent and Nicole Carey Luke were killed on May 5th after the motorcycle that they were riding collided with a truck. They had 2 children that survived them, 3-year-old Liam and 6-year-old Ariel. And so their grandparents took the 1973 Pontiac Parisian that their son had been working on to an auction to try to raise some funds to help take care of the children. And the car was initially sold for $29,000 to Rod McWilliams, and then he donated it back, and it sold again for $30,000, this time to Danny Fayed, who donated it back. And then it was sold again for $20,000 to Bob Bevins, and then he afterwards gave the car back to the family. Lindsay Payne, who is the co-owner of the auctions, said, "It was incredible. People were cheering. I was crying. Our auctioneer Rod had a hard time getting through it because he was crying. It was just so emotional. It was unreal. I've never been a part of anything like that before in my life." Ethiopia-Eritrea border reopens 20 years after war and bad blood is the Giddy News headline, courtesy of Sasha Ingber of NPR, and a link to the source will be in the description below. So Eritrea was once a province of Ethiopia, and it gained its independence in 1993, but then border clashes began in 1998, and there was a 2-year war. Many thousands died. But the Ethiopian Prime Minister and Eritrean President opened the frontier at Bure, which is at the easternmost end of their common border. This was once an area of intense fighting, and they opened this border. The ceremony coincided with celebrations of the Ethiopian New Year. Ethiopian Prime Minister stated, "We heralded the new year by demolishing the trenches along our border. As of today, Ethiopia's defense forces, along with the border with Eritrea, will be gathered to camps and ease tension that was often extreme. The same will be done from the Eritrean side." Videos and photos emerged of people embracing, dancing, and weeping as flags of both nations flapped in the breeze. Families that were separated on either side of the border are finally able to reconnect. The New York Public Library lets patrons check out ties, briefcases, and handbags for job interviews is the Giddy News headline, courtesy of Ayun Halliday of Open Culture, which is an incredible website. I recommend it. It's one of my favorites. And a link to the source will be in the description below. So now New York Public Library cardholders can borrow a necktie, briefcase, or business-like purse for a one-time 3-week lending period. The New York Public Library Grow Up program at the Riverside branch is across the street from 2 high schools, And the librarian, Thaddeus Krupo, told New York Business that the program was launched in response to the high number of students that had been taking advantage of the library's free career resources. That includes printed sheets of job interview tips. And the article jokes that hopefully the library's teen patrons won't seek to complete their professional look by checking out pants and pumps, though its borrowed bags and ties are cleared to attend prom. Homeless people in California and other western states cannot be prosecuted for sleeping outside if shelter access is lacking, the court rules. Is this Giddy News headline courtesy of Mara Dolan from the Los Angeles Times, and a link to the source will be included in the description below. The U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that prosecuting homeless people for sleeping on public property when they have no access to shelter violates the Constitution's ban on cruel and unusual punishment. The court overturned a district court decision that was in favor of the city of Boise, Idaho, in a case where homeless people had challenged two city ordinances that barred them from staying overnight on public property, but police had continued to cite homeless people even on nights when there was no availability in the shelters. The Ninth Circuit cited evidence that some shelters limited the number of days a homeless person could stay, and others required a religious commitment. And so Judge Marcia S. Berzin, writing for the court, stated, "A city cannot, via the threat of prosecution, coerce an individual to attend religious-based treatment programs." Continuing, she said, "The Eighth Amendment prohibits the imposition of criminal penalties for sitting, sleeping, or lying outside on public property for homeless individuals who cannot obtain shelter." So this is a narrow holding because it does not require a city to allow anyone on public property at any time or mandate that cities provide adequate shelter. Instead, the court stated, as long as there is no option of sleeping indoors, the government cannot criminalize indigent homeless people for sleeping outdoors on public property on the false premise that they had a choice in the matter. Toronto couple's wedding vows included gift of new life to refugee family, is the Giddy News headline courtesy of Nicholas Kung of The Star, and a link to the article will be included in the description below. So Natasha Carew and Sean Ritchie got married, and they chose to forgo wedding gifts and instead encouraged their guests to help raise $26,000 to sponsor a refugee family and give them a new life in Canada. The couple formed a core volunteer group of 8 people that also included Carew's mother, co-workers, and friends. And then they were matched with a Sudanese family who had been stuck in limbo in Jordan for almost 5 years. Mohammed El Noor, his wife Asgad Ali, and their 2 daughters, Rafa and Ruba, aged 9 and 5, arrived in Toronto from Amman on June 4th, just 3 months after they were matched with Carew's group. Carew, who is a lawyer, stated, "We could have been the ones sitting in a refugee camp looking to get an opportunity for a new life from somebody. What's most rewarding is seeing the family's 2 girls getting the opportunity that we are afforded here in Canada." Intensive care nurse finds out new colleague is baby she treated 28 years ago, in the Giddy News headline courtesy of Faima Bakar of Metro UK, and a link to the source will be included in the description below. So 54-year-old intensive care nurse Vilma Wong was shocked to learn that the new doctor, Brandon Seminator, was in fact a baby that she nursed when he was born. Vilma took care of Brandon when he was delivered prematurely at 26 weeks. When she saw the young doctor's name, she instantly recognized it but could not place it where she'd seen it before. And then when Brandon revealed that they both worked at the hospital that he was born in, she knew who he was. "I got very suspicious because I remember being the primary nurse to a baby with the same last name," Vilma explained. "I asked him if his dad was a police officer, and there was a big silence, and then he asked me if I was Vilma, and I said yes." Brandon, who is specializing in child neurology, had a picture of the 2 that was taken during his early days, and you can see that at the article. And Brandon was quoted as saying, "I've come full circle, and I'm taking care of babies with the nurse who took care of me. Not all of us will get the chance to see our patients grow up, and I was so happy to be able to share that moment with her." All right, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the Giddy News, and if you have a positive story you'd like for me to share, please include a link in the comments below. And until next time, thanks for watching.